I have always been incredibly hard-headed, stubborn as can be. I have always chose the hard road. It just doesn't matter what the scenario is. There could be two roads all leading to the same thing. One road could be like this flat, gorgeous light path with trees and flowers, and the other path would be like this crazy maze where you have to like go through spinning blades and fire shooting at you and scale a mountain. And I would look at both of these paths and go, I don't know. That light path over there with the pretty flowers, it looks suspicious. I should probably go ahead and take this other road where I could die. That's probably best. I mean, it's every time. I've always done this. And I was lucky because my mom, she always drug us to church every Sunday. You know, she was the Sunday school teacher. Haha. Awesome, right? And, you know, I used to love it, not gonna lie. I loved the community of it. I loved the friends that I had. You know, I did confirmation and I did the trail hike and I went to Young Life Camp and I loved the people and building those relationships. But I always was very stubborn about the teachings, like something within them, like I wasn't trusting. I mean, I was only halfway in, right? I didn't know if I truly believed everything that I was being told. And so when I went to college, I had to take this world religion class, and it was the start of something unbelievable in my life because I had never really understood all of the different things that people believed around the world, and I was just enthralled by it. And my Professor Laura Hobbs, she was incredible. She was just the best professor you could ever have. I took every class she offered and then some. I just loved learning about the world. And what happened is that it really started to shift, and my ideas about what I had learned growing up and how half the world never heard these ideas and how we got to heaven with the mess of all of this knowledge. And so in the confusion, I decided I was just going to let it go, right? I was going to put God on a shelf because there was too many questions. You know, so I was going to put my faith, my Christian upbringing on a shelf and go it alone. So all through my 20s, I'm going it alone, right? I'm doing everything for me, right? I'm going to take control of my life. I don't need God. I don't need anybody else. And you can probably imagine how that went. I mean, it was like I was in a free fall, getting ready to like splat. It was like, pew, pew, pew. Like, I mean, I was like goo. I was absolutely a mess. By the end of my 20s, trying to do it myself, I was like laying on the ground, like nothing left to give. And I decided, well, maybe I should try God out again, right? You know, maybe I should give this God thing another shot because I'm not doing so hot. So I decide that because I'm turning 30 and that's the biggest thing to ever happen to me in my entire life, I was going to read the Bible. So, of course, there's the nice, pretty path of reading the Bible, which is like read the Bible in the Year app. We'll work you through it and we'll tell you what it means and la la la. And, you know, I mean, they have all kinds of resources for that. No, I didn't want to do that. No, I wanted to read the Bible cover to cover, starting at the beginning at Genesis and working my way through it. And as most of you who have read the Bible understand, that is not the way to do it. It was miserable. It took me years. I spent a whole year waking up and reading the Old Testament. And for those that have read it, you may know it's intense. So yeah, And I just became more and more of a mess, even with putting the word back into my life. So now I was newly married. I had Emma, she was a baby, and I would wake up every day miserable. I would feel miserable. Most mornings I woke up with a headache. I would take Emma to daycare. I would work like a dog all day long. I put in 40 hours by Wednesday, like always worked myself to where I had nothing left. And then I would go and, pick up Emma at the last possible second, running as they're like unlocking the doors, like, I'm here for my baby. And they're like, yeah, we know, Katie, here you go. Here's your baby. And I would take her home and try to be as present as I could because, of course, I'm a great mom. Haha. And I'd put her to bed, and then I would make myself a giant cocktail. I loved vodka with that sparkling water, like the different flavors. I mean, like a huge, like 20-ouncer. And I'd sit down on the couch and think about how stressed I was, or just watch TV and fade out the world. And then I'd get up the next day, and every day was either I was absolutely miserable and could barely get up and get going, or it was semi-doable. I still had a lot of pain and anguish, but I was going to keep going anyways. And this was my days, and it was miserable. And I love to read, thank goodness. That really saved me. I was reading a fiction book, and the character in the book, she meditated. And it was like these bells went off. I was like, oh my gosh, I need to meditate, right? Whatever, try it, try anything, right? And so I downloaded a free book on Kindle, learned to meditate in 28 days. I was like, I'm on it. So I'll never forget my first meditation. They told me to time it, and thank the Lord, they told me to time it. It was only 5 minutes, but it was the worst 5 minutes of my life. As I closed my eyes and tuned in to my inner self, right, or whatever it was at that time, like I don't even know if you can call it that, my thoughts were so loud. It was like someone turned the volume all the way up, and my thoughts were like screaming at me. Everything inside of me was in pain, and it was brutal, and it was not a place I wanted to stay. And 5 minutes felt like 100 hours. Like, is this timer ever gonna go off? It was awful, but I kept up with it. I don't know, God gave me the strength. Maybe I was reading the Old Testament and I was like, I must press on, So I kept going, I kept meditating, and my thoughts got turned down. Slowly, I started to not need to drink as much, and my headaches went away. That was a big deal. That was a big moment because I was suffering from all these headaches, because my thoughts and my mind were screaming at me. I didn't know it, but that's what was happening. And so as that went away, my headaches went away, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. So I was like, I need to find out more about these spiritual practices. And then I just dove headfirst into it. I learned all of these healing modalities. I got, certified to teach meditation, to teach yoga. I was learning as much as I could, and I just loved it. I just came alive with it. I felt like it made sense to me, that we're all connected, and that it's all about love and inner peace. And it was amazing. And so that led me to, a lot of things with science, quantum physics, laws of attraction, manifestation, good versus evil. Like I just wanted more and more and more knowledge. And there was some point where I really believed that spirituality and Christianity were two very separate things. Not only that, I thought that they were almost battling each other. It's like, no, I'm right. No, I'm right. And that's how I thought of it. But what happened after years and years of going within, meditating every day, is that I realized that I was just searching for God, and everything that I found was God. That my spiritual awakening was God. And then as that followed, I realized as I studied the life of Jesus, that Jesus was an embodiment of everything that I had been taught about spirituality. Like he came to show us God's heart, that God loves us, that we're all connected. And I realized that it was the same thing. It was all the same thing. It was just said a different way, because we're all searching for God in our different ways. But it all brought me back to faith, and it brought me back to the first time in my life where I wasn't questioning my faith. That rebel spirit died, and I was born again. And I just know things now. I have this deep relationship with God. And it is the one time, there's only been one, where taking the long, difficult road paid off. It paid off because in my search, I found so many things that helped me get to where I am right now. And I feel like what God wants me to do now is he wants me to turn around and tell you guys about some of the things that I found that were transformational. And what's so crazy is that all of these things that I found in my spiritual walk and my understanding of science and things that were quantifiable, they were all in the Bible the whole time. They were all in the Bible. They were there. Thousands of years ago, they were written down. These are truths. These are truths with a capital T. So as I talk about these things over the weekend, I just want you to know that you don't have to challenge any part of your faith with this information. It all works together, and it's all important. And there's something in this life that will help you to draw nearer and to draw deeper into your faith. And you don't know what that is until you open yourself up to all kinds of things, right? New ideas. There's usually just that one thing that clicks, and then you can go deeper. So if you've lived with a superficial relationship with God, with Jesus, I'm telling you, you need to broaden your horizons and find what truth means to you. And no matter where you find it, it'll all lead back to the same place. Understanding God and trying to get closer. What I want to talk to you about, one of the truths that I found that I think is so profound, I love to share it. I have to share it. It is this understanding of vibrations, of frequencies, of energy. Nikola Tesla says, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So everything in the world vibrates, absolutely everything vibrates. You vibrate, I vibrate, the floor, the trees, the grass, anything of matter, liquid, gas, it doesn't matter, okay? Everything vibrates. And the reason why it vibrates is because when we break everything down into its very smallest components, from this chair to me to anything, it breaks down into these tiny little atoms, and these atoms are in motion. They are vibrating, and that motion is energy. So the cool thing is that everything has its own frequency, its own vibration. And to understand vibrational energy is a big key that unlocks a big door to understanding God. Okay? So you have two frequencies that I'm going to talk about today. The first one that I'm going to talk about is your emotional frequency. So this, if you could imagine yourself in this big bubble, that surrounds you. This is your emotional energy field. And most of you, you don't spend a lot of time within yourself, so you don't really understand a lot about your inner frequencies, but you know a lot about this outer frequency, okay? This is, how you react to people, to places, to ideas, what you put out into the world emotionally and what you take in. So most of us live thinking life is fully lived here in this emotional realm. So it's very important to master this, okay? And the best way to describe your emotional frequency is by looking at a ladder. So if you can imagine that the ladder represents the different levels of frequency from high to low. So at the very bottom of the ladder, where it begins, that is where the enemy hangs out, right? That's the enemy's turf, right? There's shame, there's guilt, right? There's grief, there's fear. That's all down here. And as you climb the ladder, you climb into higher vibrations. They go into courage, kind of a neutral way of living. And then they go up to higher vibrations, willingness, acceptance, reason, love, joy, peace. And guess who's at the top of the ladder? God. Right? So God is the highest vibration. This is what Jesus did. He came and he lived in this higher vibration, the highest vibration, so we could see how it was done. Right? This is a big deal. So you are somewhere on this ladder with your current frequency, and your frequency can change, okay? We're gonna go into lower frequencies of shame, of fear, of guilt, right? That's gonna happen. We are going to feel higher vibrations. We're gonna feel joy. We're gonna feel acceptance, right? We're gonna be in these higher vibrations. But the thing is that is so essential to know is wherever you are at in your vibration, say that you're in this 100 hertz vibration of fear. The law of attraction says, science has found that you will draw to you everything else in the universe that is in that same vibration or around that same vibration. Okay, so you will draw to you fearful people. You will draw to you people who like to dominate you and to live in fear. You will draw to you places to live and exist that intensify this feeling of fear. Does that make sense? So as you go up into higher vibrations, like the vibration of acceptance, of love, right? You will draw to you people that are also accepting, people that are also loving, careers, different ideas, different places to live, different things to eat. Everything that is in these high vibrations, you will draw to you, okay? And I want to stop here and go to the Bible, okay? This is talked about. It says in Philippians chapter 3, verse 14, I press toward the mark for the prize of the higher calling of God in Jesus Christ. Okay, where do you think the mark is? The mark is up there. When we talk about heaven, when we talk about God, we look up, we point up. What are we looking up at? What are we pointing up at, right? We know the kingdom of heaven is within, so what's up there? What's up there is the high frequencies to get there. That's the mark. And God is always calling us higher. We're always being called up, okay? And just the same way, the enemy, he's always calling you down. Ooh, come down here, right? So we are being pulled. And what happens is that we change our frequency moment by moment, choice by choice. So if your mind has gone to this place where you're like, well, I really want to raise my frequency, so I need to go to a different country and I need to help people who don't have food and whatever. No, that's great. I mean, I'm not saying that's not good, but your vibrational energy is determined by everything you do in your life right here, right now. And I'm going to give you an example, okay? So say you get home from work, you're tired, you feel like everybody's stripped away everything you have to give, right? And you think, oh, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to drink a glass of wine because that's going to make me feel better. Well, here's the thing. I love wine too. Wine is great, but wine, alcohol of any kind, is a depressant, right? Depressants are lower in vibration. And sometimes, misery loves company, right? We're like, well, I know I'm miserable and I think this wine's going to make me happy, but guess what? It doesn't. You're drawing it to you because that's the energy field that you're in, this desperation, okay? And then you're like, well, I just want to tune out. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to watch Yellowstone because I love Yellowstone. It's so entertaining. And then you watch this show where people are deceitful, they're murdering each other, they're going behind each other's back. It's so dark. It's so dark. And the enemy is just so excited. It's like, yay, they're coming down here, because you're lowering your vibrations. That's what's happening. And I know a lot of you right now are like, no, she's saying all the things that I love to do. I get it. Have I told you about my two paths, right? I've always picked the wine and the Yellowstone path. That's the hard path, right? But here's the thing. Let's reframe this. Let's get home. We're still exhausted. We still feel stripped down. And we think, okay, you know what? I usually feel a little bit better when I've had enough water to drink, when I'm hydrated. And then we think back about our day. It's like, well, I had a coffee, and then I had a coffee, and then I had a Diet Pepsi, and then I think I had a water. Did I have a water? Did I make a water and just take 2 sips of the water and the water's still in the cup? You realize, okay, well, I haven't even hydrated myself today. So you get a nice, delicious glass of ice water or hot tea, and then you just sit down and enjoy it. And guess what? You feel better. You're like, oh, well, yeah, kind of feel like I have a little more energy now. Maybe you're still exhausted. Maybe you still want to tune out, but you look through the TV and you find, a great movie or a great show that's about love, that's about light. And you're like, I just love these guys. They're just so fun to watch. And, it's high vibration stuff. And then you go to bed and you're hydrated and your mood is up and you feel good. So it's choice by choice. I love this in Ephesians chapter 4. This is verse 1 through 4. It says, I urge you to live a life worthy of the calling you have received. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called to one hope when you were called. This is powerful stuff. God is calling you higher. You must choose things in higher vibration. And I think it's interesting, when we look at this, we see like, what do I do? Because I'm not always in a good vibration, and I know that about myself. Sometimes I'm angry. Sometimes I'm fearful. Sometimes I don't want to do what I'm supposed to do. Well, you look at what's in the higher vibration and you look to see if there's anything that will work for you in this moment. And I see that, right above neutrality is in this higher vibration, 310 hertz, is willingness. I love that, right? Willingness. Are you willing to change your vibration? Are you willing to do something better for yourself? And the answer to that may be yeah. I am willing. That's why I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking differently now, and I want something different than how I feel right now. And then the next one up is acceptance. Can I accept my situation as it is? Can I accept the ability to not have all the control that I want here? Can I accept and let go of whatever is causing me this discomfort? And then 400, go into reason. Do it. If you've got the energy, if you've got the time, right? You can reason with yourself. Okay, here's the thing. If I stay in this lower vibration, I know I'm going to draw more things that I don't want to me. That's reason enough. I want out, right? What can I do? Let's go on a walk, right? Let's eat a great meal. It's crazy, choice by choice, because everything vibrates. You can even choose high vibrating meals. They have found that organic, fresh produce has very high vibrations. That same produce that's been sitting in a can has literally no vibration. So you can eat a meal that can totally change your vibe. You can vibe check. Be like, I want something better. Maybe you don't make it to love. Maybe you don't make it to joy and peace, but that's okay. Guess what? You've pulled out. You've pulled out of the lower vibrations, and that's what you need to think about over and over again. And I want you to understand that a lot of you are right here around this 250 range, right? This neutral range. You've stayed the same. You stayed the same forever. You have the same job. You have the same friends. You have the same schedule. You have the same wants. That's fine. If that's where you want to live, that's fine. That's your choice. But I'm here in this time and place to tell you that it's not enough. And God is calling you higher. And sometimes we don't know what that higher calling is. And I ask you to pray about it, to be open, to be willing, to be moved into higher vibrations, because we want to feel this peace. We want to feel the joy. And God promises this to us, right? My yoke is light. He will take your burdens. This is worth moving up towards. Isaiah 58 verse 11, it says, I will always show you where to go. I'll give you a full life in the emptiest of places, firm muscles, strong bones. You will be like a well-watered garden, a gurgling spring that never runs dry. You don't know where to go to get to your higher vibrations? Guess who's going to show you? The one that's calling you. So you pray and you listen. And you do it. And you keep doing it over and over again. And you reach those higher vibrations. Because when you're within reach, it's a lot easier for God to grab hold and pull you up higher. So that's the first thing I wanted to tell you about vibrations, about frequencies, about energy. The second thing I want to talk to you about is your own energy, your body, yourself, your inner energy. So everything, all of your inner working parts, they all vibrate at different frequency ranges. Okay? And what's so cool to learn about this is that our heart vibrates within the same range as the earth. Right? So the heart is around 7 point something hertz, and so is the earth at 7.98, I think. Okay? So God tells us that we were created from dust and will return to dust. And He made it so that our feet are firmly planted on this earth. I think He's trying to tell us something. Right? I think He's trying to tell us that if we want to be balanced, we need to reach a frequency that is in connection with the earth. So the problem lies within our mind. Our mind has a huge range of frequencies. It can be really low and it can be really high, right? And our mind controls everything in our bodies. So wherever our mind's frequency is at, it really seeps into everything that we are and do and believe. Okay? So what the goal is to get our mind's frequency to align with our heart and with the earth's frequency. Why? Because it taps us into our circadian rhythms, the universal flow, right? It taps us into our intuition, into our deeper connection with God. And so I'm sure a lot of you are thinking, well, how do I know what my brain's vibration is? And how do I get it to the same vibration as my heart and as the earth? Well, the first thing is I don't know what your current vibration is. I don't know how far up or far down you have to go. But I do know how to get there. So science has proven that people who spend time in prayer and meditation, their frequencies are more in alignment in the frequency of our hearts and of the earth. Right? We have to calm ourselves. We have to connect with our inner selves. And when we do that, we become in alignment with the universal flow. And what happens then? I'll tell you, life gets easier. Life gets easier when we're not trying to get upstream, when we're floating downstream. God is leading the way. We're just following. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. So when it comes to prayer and meditation, I've spent a lot of time working on it myself. And I want to teach you what I have found, because to me it was not just one thing, it was a combination of many things that I found on my wild and crazy road I took. So I found that when I meditated, I love to meditate, but I felt like God was really talking to me, and I wanted to be grateful. I wanted to talk to God during meditation, so it didn't feel like meditation was enough. And when I was praying, I felt like, well, I'm just talking and I'm not listening and I'm not taking enough time to listen to God. So I felt like prayer didn't allow for enough meditation. And then I found that sometimes when I just tried to pray and meditate, where I was finally talking and listening in the same place, that my mind would be all over the place. You know, I couldn't feel grounded. I would get lost. I'd be like, oh, was I praying? Was I meditating? What was I doing? I think I'm somewhere else completely, right? And so on my yogic training, I learned about pranayama. I learned about the breath. And God is all about the breath. The Bible talks all about the breath. God breathed his own breath into us to give us life. You think it's not important? Like, whoa, right? Big deal. So the breath is the only thing that works involuntarily without you doing anything, but yet, if you want, you can control it. And when you control your breath, your body immediately reacts completely. Your brain changes, your body changes, your digestive tract changes, everything changes. The breath is the doorway. So if you are wanting to get out of the chaos of your mind, of the world, and step into a calmer place where you can pray and meditate in a more focused way, then you need to add the breath. Does that make sense? The breath is the doorway. It allows you to transition from one reality to the next. So I've created this practice that I call centering. It starts with breathing practices that I'm going to teach you. And then it goes into prayer, where you get to talk, where I get to talk, where you get to say what's going on in your life. Talk to God about your day. What are you really going through? I mean, this can be a time where you go through all your normal prayers of praying for everybody, but it's really, more importantly, a time to go over what you have planned and to check it over with God. God is your all-time boss. He is the boss. You need to check in with your boss and get approval to move forward. So this is when you do that. And then you listen, right? You sit back and you listen in meditation. You watch your thoughts. God communicates with you with your thoughts. There's so many things within you that need your attention, and God in his perfect timing will draw those thoughts to the forefront. Even if they're a shopping list to get groceries, that's important. You don't know where that's going to lead. It could lead to a meal that you have with someone and something really important changes in their life and your life. And it started with a grocery list. Okay? This is important things, and I'm going to teach you how to do this. I'm going to teach you how to center. And I want you to center every single morning. The first thing that you do, I want you to relax, let your nervous system calm down, and then I want you to start this centering practice with the breath, with the prayer, with the meditation. Why? Because it will take your vibrations, no matter where they're at, and they'll sync them with your heart and with the earth. Tap you into the universal flow so that your day is easier. It flows better, right? Everything doesn't have to be so hard, I promise you. And even when the schedule gets jam-packed, this is perfect for busy people. Busy people need this more than anything. I'm going to tell you, I'm a very busy person. But my stress, my anxiety, all stay really low. My connection with God is really high. Why? Because I found a balance in my frequencies by starting my day without fail the same way. Once you get this, you will not waver on it. There is no way to skip it. So we're going to take a break here, and then we're going to come back, and I'm going to teach you this centering process. But do you feel different? Do you feel like you really got some important tools today? You learned about your frequency, the exterior emotional bubble that you carry, what you let in, what you give out. You've learned that how you align your inner frequencies changes everything in your day. I think God really wants you to know this stuff. It's how you're designed. You don't get a guidebook about how you are designed, but you should. And I've only got a few pieces, but I want you to have them. To know that I'm praying with you, I'm loving you. I know that God goes with you, and so does love and light.